Previously, he had been a filthy salaryman that went home with empty pockets every night until one fateful day. It had been a usual day with him passing out all sweaty after playing video games all night. When he woke up, however, he dropped from a slime as loot, causing him to adapt to his new world. Now with a house, multiple girls going for him, and his own power to do whatever he wants, he wonders, is there more to life? Episode 7. Seen helping a girl burn the trash before her, our protagonist, Ryota. The trash turning into monsters. If not burned, she has a very special job. Ryota knows this, so he shoots her, knocking her out for the night. This very girl wakes up, it's already daytime, and none of the trash has been burned, causing it to turn into monsters. Just as she thinks she caused a big issue, Ryota emerges and starts farming the monsters. It is revealed that all the people have dropped their trash off still, but with Ryota allowing them to transform into monsters so he can farm them. With Ryota having the S-rank skill for monster drops, he is easily able to acquire any kind of item, including fabulous food. Like Ryota, when the girl takes a bite of Emily's cooking, she is brought to tears. She then introduces herself as Celeste, someone who is assigned to destroying trash for a living. Her clearly being in a pickle, Ryota offers to help her in any way he can, asking if she needs anything. She hesitates, but eventually thinks so hard that she falls asleep entirely. The following day, she is back to normal and using her magic in a fashioned manner. Once they finish dealing with all the trash, Emily offers the girl their tint, knowing a bum like her is better off for it. Before they leave, however, she asks them if she can freeload off them some more. She asks for food, which leads to Ryota and Emily going into town to find ingredients. As they shop, Emily stops him, wanting to look at the various rings a merchant has. Emily tells Ryota that she has never had much jewelry, but she has always dreamed of having some. Ryota ignores her and heads into the town official's office to learn more about his job. See, he is currently in this poorer region because someone asked him for a favor in clearing a dungeon. Then suddenly a guard enters the room and calls for Ryota to come and work his magic in the dungeon. Follows the men and is greeted by some geezer with some ugly buck teeth. To the ugly fool is some F-rank girl who claims that she has the best monster drop skills. Ryota, however, isn't like them, pulling out his sword and killing the slime with a single bullet. So he thought. Slime erupts back and bigger, causing the buck teeth geezer to smirk, thinking Ryota has no clue what he's doing. He then sends in the F-rank adventurer to deal with the monster, but Ryota's gun is too fast. By using a homing arrow, he is able to defeat the monster and beat out the F-rank girl. Following this, Ryota receives a reward from the official, thanking him for flexing on the bucktooth guy for him. With this money, Ryota wonders how much he could make if he went back into the dungeon. As he gets back, he finds Celeste freeloading in his tent, ruining his moment with Emily. Despite this, he still makes his move, pulling out a fancy ring and giving it to Emily. Before we continue, let's take a moment to answer the question of the day. Who is your favorite girl in this series? Comment down below for a chance to be shouted out in the next video. Now, back to the recap. He plays it off like he has enough money to spend from time to time, causing Emily to eventually accept it. Little does he know this small gesture will greatly affect his future. Later that day, Emily asks him what he has been doing, to which he explains that he originally tried to use her ring to get more drops. Fortunately, however, the monster dropped the ring again, causing it to be a failure. Back in the present, they continue exploring the dungeon until they finally get their first ever meat drop. In this world, not only are items dropped from monsters, but a majority of the food used in this world is from these monsters. Just when they relax, a rare tree monster appears. With its ugly appearance, it's almost as painful to look at as the old bucktooth geezer who happens to be here as well. He tells Ryota that if he defeats the monster, then he will steal his loot. He informs him that he will be getting the loot, but Emily doesn't stand for this. She runs in and leaves Ryota to back her up with his freezing bullets. With a single strike, the rare monster gets defeated by the duo, leaving a bitter taste in the other's mouth. Later that day, he heads back to the town where the official asks to meet with him. He asks Ryota for some of his loot, telling him that he really wants to eat good food. Ryota wonders what this guy is on about and suggests instead that he can share the drops from the rare monsters. The official ponders this idea and eventually accepts after hearing Ryota vouch for himself. Following this, they head into the dungeon where Ryota deals with the various rare monsters on each level. Despite the dungeon being a meat dungeon with supposedly rare drops, the monsters are giving him trash. That is until he reaches the strongest of the rare monsters on the 9th floor, a 7-headed snake which drops him some shrooms. He thinks this is another trash item, but the official is satisfied with simply defeating the monsters. Ryota then realizes just how much that guy trusted him, allowing him to deal with all the monsters by himself. Little does he know, however, he isn't the only one in this dungeon. With the F-rank adventurer and her grunts also being in the dungeon, I see no other option but to rob Ryota for his goods. Although they are organized, Ryota doesn't falter, seeing that the people are pretty much civilians. Whether it's a chop or punch, he takes them all down with a single strike, leaving just the F-rank and mage. To show them who the boss is, he shoots all the people he knocked out, which wakes them up. He then grabs his card and tells her to try harder next time, sparking a flame within the F-rank girl. Episode 8. Following this, when they arrive back at their homeless shelter, Emily presents a large array of food. She then leaves, giving Ryota some time to flirt with Celeste until Emily gets back with a large cake. I question how she is getting all of these items, don't think anything of it knowing this is the usual for her. Later that day, Celeste is seen practicing her fire magic until exhaustion, making Ryota wonder why she is pushing herself so hard. With his healing bullets, he shoots her, thus healing her. Once she regains her senses, she sees Ryota's Chad face staring deep into her soul, making her heart skip a beat. She realizes she's going crazy, so she takes a moment before explaining what she was doing to Ryota. She then tells him that she was trying to make a new level of magic. With her only being able to use the highest level 3 fire magic, she wishes she could use the lower levels so she didn't have to exhaust so much power. Once Ryota hears this, he offers to help, not knowing how much work she really has. With a pile of trash bigger than a mountain, he gives up, telling Celeste she can do it herself. Emily tries to comfort her, telling her that she surely will be able to get some help tomorrow. Ryota then takes advantage of her situation, tells her he will do it all himself like a beast. Despite saying all this, the next day the pile of trash is even bigger than before. Ryota doesn't falter, however, telling Celeste that he has it under control. After this happens, Celeste wonders why Ryota is so nice to her, questioning his true intentions. Emily then explains that Ryota is just a giving guy, him helping whoever is in need. Royd, on the other hand, goes to meet with the official but finds Nep there as well. He takes advantage of this and tells Nep to hurry up, conquer the dungeon for their kingdom already. The official, however, explains it's not that easy. Inside the dungeon is something called Dungeon Master. The Dungeon Master is able to change the dungeon as they wish, but this isn't all. With the Dungeon Master also having the strength of some of the strongest people, they aren't an easy target. Ryota is ambitious, however, so he ventures through the town looking for more information or adventurers that will help him. As he looks, Emily emerges and offers her hand along with Celeste. Once he sees her, he asks who is going to take care of her trash, which causes the F-rank girl to emerge. She acts embarrassed for being Celeste's sister, being beaten up by Ryota previously. She explains that she is here to help, guiding Ryota to a bunch of people working together to burn the trash. Ryota realizes that even with them helping, they still need to be skilled, so he asks to see Celeste's stats. To his surprise, she has multiple A-rank skills, earning her the right to attend the raid party with him. Once he enters the dungeon, the master is nowhere to be seen, making him wonder what's going on. While standing around in a circle doing absolutely nothing, the ceiling breaks, allowing a monster to emerge. Before them is a horse with 2 horns, being referred to as a beacon, strong monster. He doesn't care, however, so he sends his girl in to test the waters with the monster. She gets knocked down pretty easily. The Ryota shoots it, allowing her to escape narrowly. As they regroup, he orders Celeste to do something, so she acts hastily, sending an inferno around the horse. He follows by shooting randomly, which distracts it enough to allow an attack from Emily. While this happens, Nep learns of Ryota's plans, making him wonder what the chance of their victory is. Little do they know Ryota is on the brink of defeat, being unable to deal any solid damage. Just as they thought it couldn't get worse, the horse uses a spell which drops Emily to the floor. Once Ryota sees this, he doesn't faint, but his stats get dropped, causing him to be significantly weaker. Celeste, on the other hand, gets all of her MP drained, leaving only Ryota able to fight. Being the man he is, he tells the 2 girls that they have nothing to worry about, promising to protect them. After Celeste hears this, she realizes that he is the first person to treat her better than a filthy trash lady. She sees him as her hope, her future, and the person who can save her from this lifestyle. This is the exact reason why she is able to unlock her hidden potential, using her Inferno spell once again, this time with a different effect. Ryota follows this attack by smashing the horses face in with Emily's hammer. Once it's defeated, he ignores the drops to check on Celeste's condition. With only a couple minor injuries, she's completely fine, allowing Ryota to present her with a gift. He shows 2 small horns and gives them to Celeste, unlocking her level 1 magic. With this being the boss's drop, he feels bad for taking it for herself, wondering how she can repay Ryota. Following this, Ryota heads back to the official tent where he finds Nep's concubines. They congratulate him for a good job but refuse to reveal where Nep is. Meanwhile, Nep is seen bullying the ugly buck-toothed old geezer that tried to press our boss Ryota. Episode 9. The following day, while Ryota walks back to his place, he draws the attention of all the men, looking at his new girl. Ezra, in particular, is stunned to find out that Ryota has added another girl to his harem, calling it his family. Ezra notices something strange is going on, him calling all these girls his family. This causes her to run off in embarrassment, leaving Ryota to continue flirting with the girls. While talking, Celeste tells him of an arena where people fight monsters for goods. Then Celeste asks why they are sitting around on the filthy ground, which causes Ryota to explain his plans. After collecting as many of the speed things, he has moved on to vitality seeds, giving him a new monster to spawn in. Once it does spawn in, he defeats them and gets new binding bullets. Celeste is impressed by this technique, realizing he's abusing a glitch to give him infinite resources. Then as they talk, explosions erupt in the town, causing them to run back. He learns it's a monster from a rare drop, a king slime that is found on the lower levels of a dungeon. In front of Ryota's party, however, it doesn't stand a chance with all three of them using their own skills. Eventually, Ryota realizes what they are doing isn't working, so he tries out his new binding bullets. With the first bullets binding it and the second finishing it off, he defeats the slime to find a rare drop. Emily, on the other hand, is sad because her hammer got bent during their fight against the king slime. Later that night, Eve is seen questioning a civilian for information about Ryota's whereabouts. Ryota, on the other hand, meets with some official offering Emily a new hammer. Tells Ryota that he wants to sponsor the Ryota family, aka his dungeon party. They gladly accept the man's request, leaving them to venture into the dungeon later that day. With Ryota still up to his usual antics, he finds the princess still farming skeletons for the heir. The guard tells him that recently their scam hasn't been working, so they are struggling. Ryota then gets an amazing idea, proposing that they sell off the princess's garments. He realizes this isn't possible, so he then suggests that they sell princess rings of some sort. As they talk, the princess gets overwhelmed by some skeletons, so Ryota defeats them with ease. They thank him and tell him they will be going along with his plan of producing princess rings. Following this, the princess tells Ryota that she wants to give him her first one. Meanwhile, Emily is still talking with the sponsor until Eve barges in asking for Ryota location. They tell her, and she sets out to hopefully ruin Ryota's peaceful day. Within the dungeon is Ryota, who flexes his new pack from the king slime, explaining that it can store the seeds without him using the princess's box. While this happens, Eve continues looking for him until she has to ask Ezra, who also is unsure of his location. Eventually, Ryota arrives at the guild where he flirts with Ezra, till the customer behind him complains. As they talk, Ezra tells him that they buy rare drops for a larger price, so she hands him a handbook of items. And once he receives his compensation for the goods, he notices he is shortened a bit. He asks why, and Ezra informs him that the money acquirer in the dungeon was arrested, so they have little money to go around. Ryota realizes he can use the money for summoning monsters, so he tries it out. To his surprise, it's not just any monster, summoning a large bird that instantly tries to flee. Ryota doesn't allow this, however, using his homing arrow to shoot it down. Upon defeating the monster, he receives a potion that gives him the chance to recover HP. While he is inspecting this item, Eve runs over asking Ryota for some of his prime carrots. With him heading into the dungeon anyways, he farms the monster that drops the carrots to satisfy Eve. As they talk, Eve informs him that she has been missing him a lot, needing his high-quality carrots. Before this happened, Eve used to run the dungeon with a party of fellow bunny girls. They used to always try and convince her to eat vegetables, but she hated them, so she ran away. During this time, she encountered various monsters until one day, she summoned a small boy from a monster. This boy thought he was dreaming, so he asked Eve what was going on with some big buffalo in front of them. To his surprise, however, the petite Eve runs over and smacks the monster in the head, feeding it. Once the boy sees this, he is immensely impressed, telling Eve that he wants to learn how to fight from her. Sparked the start of a relationship, with Eve being the master and the boy being the worthless extra. Upon defeating the monster, it drops a carrot, causing Eve to urge him to throw it out. The boy didn't want to waste food, however, so he forced the carrot down her throat. After being forced to eat the carrot, she realized how tasty it was, but soon after she ate the carrot, the boy disappeared without a trace. Ever since that day, she has been a carrot-loving bunny girl, all because of her past party member, who somehow resembles Ryota. Ryota then asks her why she can't just get the carrots herself. She tells him her drop rate sucks. Once he hears this, he presents a vial containing the ability to increase your drop rate by 3 levels. Now, with an A-rank drop rate, she is able to make carrots that almost come close to Ryota's level. Because of this, she asks for more of the vials, but he informs her that they are his exclusive items. Eve then resorts to her animal nature, getting on her knees and begging Ryota to let her in his party. After a small struggle, he accepts adding yet another girl to his family. Episode 10. When Ryota wakes up the next morning with his new family, he notices that Celeste is ill, with a magic storm soon approaching her head, throbs because of her magical prowess. Once Ryota hears this, he decides to buy another but bigger house to hopefully block the magic storm. He starts by entering a new place, but once they enter, she expresses her headache is gone. With Ryota being a big baller, he decides that 400k a month is no problem. Girls become stunned, wondering how he is getting all this money, but Ryota doesn't care. He tells them whatever makes them happy he will invest in, so there's no need to worry. Following this, he realized just how lavish of a purchase he did, getting a house even bigger than his previous mansion. While exploring, he tells his family members that they need to do some dungeon hunting if they want to afford this place. They then head over to the 7th floor of a nearby dungeon, where Celeste explains the various monsters within it. This causes Ryota to praise her, and overall put her in a better mood. And suddenly, as they explore the dungeon, they find the old geezer who was previously seen overworking his companions. This time, he is seen crying in joy after seeing how much his party members have grown. This ticks Ryota off, him having a boss like the old geezer in his past life. His thought is interrupted, however, when a slime emerges before them, stopping their advancements. With a flame body, his attacks don't work at all, causing Celeste to try out her luck. With the monster only being able to die from fire magic, he switches up to red bullets and makes quick work of them. Sadly, the slime drops unions, causing Eve to become turned off until Emily suggests they eat curry for dinner. As they talk, a slime suddenly appears, smacking Ryota in the face. Once he gets up, he recognizes it as a rare monster that can provide drops never seen before. This time, Eve shows off her skills, bringing it to 1 GP with a single attack, allowing Ryota to defeat it with ease. Then inspects the loot from the slime and learns that by holding it, it reflects any incoming attacks. Because this makes his fight so easy, decides to sell it off to keep his life interesting. Upon presenting it to Ezra, he's surprised to see such a rare item from a low level. She tells him it's worth 3 mil, which makes the party happy, being able to comfortably afford rent. Then, as they leave the guild, some small girl walks around asking various adventurers to join their party. Ryota, on the other hand, fights with a skeleton, who is able to match not only his strength, but also his speed. With a small adjustment, however, he defeats the skeleton, dropping him a MP seed. He wonders how he can even use magic, so he goes to ask Celeste for help. She presents him with a devil fruit, telling him that if he eats it, he will get a random ability. Instead of eating the fruit, however, Ryota allows it to become a monster to see what he can get from the drop. To his surprise, a copycat slime emerges, causing him to bring out his true power. He uses his advanced moves to throw it around, which allows him to shoot it, thus taking it down. Once he kills it, he finds it is the fruit again, but this time with another imprint on it, giving him another spell. After this happens, he heads back into town to flex on the girls, the first spell being a level 1 wind cutter. They ask him for the second move, so he shows them, using something called reservation, which appears to do nothing. The drops, however, are insane, causing Emily to question what the ability does. He explains that by using the spell, increases the drop rates of others and gives them a boost in experience. As Ryota realizes this, he decides to strengthen his whole family with the new skill. As he looks around town, he finds Ezra, so he decides to chirp at her. He helps her in moving some stuff. Notices the small girl from earlier finally being accepted into a party. That is the old geezer's party, who overworks people down to the bone. Once Ryota notices this, he's forced to step in the middle of them, telling the old geezer that the girl is already in his party. Ezra then approaches and tries to mediate the situation, telling her that she is lucky to be in Ryota's party. Other adventurers then start talking, mentioning how strong Ryota's family is. The old geezer notices this, so he backs down, allowing Ryota to introduce himself to the girl. She then introduces herself as Alice, a wannabe adventurer with a max level of 2. Because of this, Ryota decides to check her stats, making him realize how worthless the girl really is. He suggests she come level up with him, knowing that if he doesn't carry her, she will die one day. While farming the monsters, Alice tells Ryota that she was actually born within the dungeon, suggesting she was a drop like Ryota. They then find a group of skeletons, so Ryota uses his bind bullet to subdue all the monsters. Thanks to this, Alice is able to level up, reaching her max level of 2. Following this, they head back in the dungeon this time, with Alice using a strange method. Instead of simply defeating the skeleton, she transforms it into a small skeleton, calling it Bonesy. Despite its small body, it is strong enough to defeat some low-level slimes. As they fight, Bonesy eventually transforms into a larger form, using its head as an attack. Once he defeats the slime, it turns into a smaller version of itself, like how Bonesy did. Now, with 2 low-level monsters by her side, she acts confident, telling Ryota that she doesn't need his help anymore. With her and his family, he takes her back anyways, introducing her to his party. Despite him just bringing in Celeste into his family, he brings yet another girl home, making Emily wonder when it will be enough. Before we continue, let's take a moment to shout out the winner of the last video's top comment, Itachi_Uchiha839. Comment down below for a chance to be shouted out in the next video, episode 11. This morning when Ryota wakes up, he learns that his family members have already set out for the dungeon. Eve and Celeste farming carrots, and Alice in his own house. He finally has some alone time with the Yogi girl. He invites her to go to the Harvest Festival with him, hoping to regain some of his riz. Once they arrive at the festival, there are booths as far as the eye can see, making Ryota wonder if Emily has never been to a market before. Regardless, he treats her with kindness and takes her around the market, buying her whatever she wants. With him being the biggest baller of the town, he buys whatever he wants, whenever he wants. They then head over to a fountain to enjoy the weather until Alice comes running over. She tells them that there is a strange stall selling weird things. Once Ryota arrives at the stall, the vendor offers to sell him experience points. He tells him that because of certain dungeons, they are able to store easy monsters within the boxes, giving them an easy level up. He decides to buy it in order to help Emily level up further. With the box shaking repeatedly, it shows that soon it will spawn in the monster. Then suddenly a rat spawns, causing Emily to rush in on the attack. Instead of the usual no drop from the monster, it drops a new purple bullet. Upon inspection, he realizes just how useful it is. Learning the bullet is a strengthening bullet. After using the bullet, nothing happens, but when he uses the next, its power is crazy. Ryota learns that this bullet gives him the chance to make his strong attacks even stronger thanks to the bullets. Because of this, he tries to go buy more. Once he arrives, he finds a goblin terrorizing the town. Ryota defeats it with ease, asking the girl if she is okay. But just when he does, the goblin gets back up, but twice its size from before. Because of this, Emily tries her luck, but ends up making it bigger as well. Now with a giant standing before them, they wonder what to do until Nep suddenly arrives. He asks Ryota what he plans on doing without offering a bit of help himself. Ryota notices this, so he asks him to do something about it, causing his two girls to use their magic. By giving Nep a pair of wings, he is able to fly into the sky and follow up Ryota's attacks with his own. Thanks to their combination of attacks, the goblin eventually falls, thus saving the people of the town. The girl who Ryota saved then goes up and announces to him that when she grows up, she will be like him. Once Ryota hears this, he gets in close to tell her to visit him again once she gets a bit older. Following this, Celeste and Eve arrive, giving Ryota the advantage in women over Nep. Nep realizes that he has increased his harem yet again, so he tries to recruit Ryota once again. Ryota, of course, rejects his request, knowing that his harem would be limited if he was in Nep's family. With all of them now gathered in the market, Ryota suggests to them that they ball out. He takes all the girls to get whatever they want, showing just how much of a baller he is. Whether it's food or gifts, he buys everything he lays his eyes on until the unexpected happens. With Eve eating something other than carrots, the group becomes stunned, wondering what got into her. They then all get a glazed apple until Alice informs him that there are more monsters in the town. Celeste tells them it's the arena most likely, informing them that various people fight against monsters to prove their strength. Seems like a good idea to Ryota, so he suggests that he fight in the arena, with only 2 party members being allowed in. However, he is forced to pick someone, so he picks the baddest, Celeste. She asks him if there is a particular reason why he picked her, but he has none, telling her it was just a random pick. This saddens her, but regardless, they head over to the arena. Once entering, they are faced off against a king slime, giving them the chance for acquiring the rare drops it holds. Upon defeating the slime, Ryota thanks Celeste for her help, making her blush. Later that night, after emptying his pockets, Ryota heads back to his place alongside his family. Once arriving, Celeste whips out some fireworks, telling the others she has no clue how she got them. Ryota recognizes them instantly, so he takes the fireworks to begin playing with them. Once they use all of them, they talk amongst each other until Alice's eyes turn a different color, causing her to act strangely. She begins walking away, but Ryota stops her, making the others wonder what's going on. Alice then wakes up and informs the others that she felt someone calling her from a dungeon not far. Following this, Ryota is called by a geezer, telling him what happened. He informs him that out of all the dungeons, they haven't gotten a single drop in the past 24, making their situation pretty dire. He tells Ryota that he has no clue when it will end, so he needs Ryota to investigate it for him. Ryota thinks about it and eventually accepts his request, telling him that he won't stop until he figures out the issue. First, they head to the dungeon where nobody is able to get any drops, including Emily. Eve then suggests Ryota try, and once he does, the monster drops its goods like usual. Ryota thinks about how this could happen, eventually coming to the conclusion that it must be within a different dungeon. After exploring through a dungeon, he finds a girl standing before him, claiming to be the dungeon master. He doesn't hesitate to attack, shooting his gun, but it goes straight through her. He then counters, knocking Ryota to the ground and making him wonder how he can win. Episode 12. Regardless, however, he persists, trying out anything he could possibly come up with. Despite changing through all of his bullets, nothing happens, making him feel defeated. When all hope seems lost, he notices a bullet inside of the dungeon master's toe. He finally realizes what he needs to do, so he begins firing homing bullets. With these bullets, he is able to land attacks on the dungeon master, revealing that she isn't completely invisible. In order to fight back, the dungeon master needs to make her body real when she strikes, giving Ryota a chance to triumph over her. Once he defeats the dungeon master, he faints, not realizing he solved the world's issue. Eventually, he wakes up to find Emily asking him if he is all right. He tells her to heal him, so she proceeds to place the white bullet into the gun, thus bringing Ryota back to life. After this happens, she tells him that monsters are dropping items again, meaning he saved everyone. Despite this, Emily feels bad for him, asking him to rely on her more next time instead of risking himself. Ryota tells her that he wasn't trying to leave her, rather be a man and show off his strength. Following this, he notices a small ring dropped by the dungeon master, giving him a unique ability. He then heads back to town, but is stopped by the rest of his family, thanking him for his efforts. Tell him that nobody is as nice as he is, going to risk his life for the good of everyone else. The following day, once entering the dungeon, puts the ring on to hopefully use its power. Just in time, a group of skeletons emerge, allowing him to use his new ring. While he farms monsters, the princess's convoy emerges, telling Ryota that his ring idea is a failure. They inform him that only dragons drop rings, so they aren't yet ready to fight them. They then show off her stats, having F rank in everything but a max level of 99. With her being at level 94 right now, he only has a little bit of room to improve. Once Ryota realizes this, he gives her one of his crystals that somehow levels her up. Not only does her level go up, but every one of her stats rises by a single level, going to rank E Ryota, then offers her a few more crystals, leveling her up yet again and bringing her stats to D rank. He tells them that with the current growth, once she reaches level 99, she should have all A-rank stats. After this happens, the princess becomes enticed by Ryota. She asks him to join her, rejects her, however, and runs off, buying all of the materials he could find. Then gets his party and places the goods in a circle to hopefully spawn in monsters to farm. He reveals the use of his new ring, telling them he can easily get these experience crystals from any monster. They then wait, and eventually monsters start appearing, thus spawning in these experience crystals. Once the girls grab them, they level up instantly, making them wonder what the limits of Ryota's power is. After they defeat all the monsters, they check their stats again, hoping to see some improvement. Luckily, all of the girls' stats have improved a bit, meaning his training successfully worked. He then tells them that he wants to continue helping them grow even with them all having max levels. They head into town, and once they do, it seems like their recognition is through the roof. Every one of Ryota's family members being known as a strong adventurer, they realize how much of a change he has had in their town. Eventually, they arrive at the guild and get new licenses to go deeper into the dungeons. Despite how well their teamwork is, Ryota proposes that they all work solo to maximize their profits. Before this, they eat dinner for the night in preparation to fight solo the next day. Then, after a day of farming all on their own, head back to talk about their profits. With each member earning close to their monthly rent, it seems like they will never run short of money. In total, make around 2 million this day, allowing Ryota to buy magic carts for everyone. Now, with all these magic carts, they are able to maximize their profits even more. Because of all these items he plans on bringing in, he asks Ezra if she can keep track of all their profits under one account. She of course accepts his request, once again asking Ryota to continue business with them. After this happens, she gets assigned to work under them exclusively, making their party once again a bit bigger. Ryota then decides to throw a party after getting all this money, inviting even the likes of Nep. And suddenly the doorbell rings, causing the princess to enter as well, asking if she can join. Following this, more people start to arrive, causing the big house to feel a bit smaller. Once Ryota realizes how nice his new life is, he takes a moment to step back and recognize the fruits of his efforts.